Someone's ringtone goes off too loudly. A brittle, metallic jingle that slices through the hallway of the basement registry office. The kind of government-adjacent service window people avoid, unless absolutely forced. The woman holding the phone fumbles it, curses under her breath. And that's the first wrong sound. Heads turn because no one ever raises their voice here. Everyone just wants to get their stamped forms and leave. And then, the doorway shifts. The fluorescent light hits wrong, and suddenly Jin walks in first, hood low, followed by Jimin trying too quickly to mirror the same posture, and Jungkook stepping a beat late, like he assumed there'd be another entrance. A guy in line mutters something too fast. Nah, no way, that's not... and then stops mid-word, as if pulling it back could undo it. People freeze, but not together. A girl drops her envelope. A man pretends he didn't see anything. Someone else lifts their phone halfway, then aborts and tucks it into her sleeve, then immediately regrets hiding it. Conversations don't fade. They halt with an ugly scrape, like chairs dragging. The clerk at window 3 lowers her hand over the microphone, but keeps staring through the glass instead of speaking. Nobody knows where to look. Nobody understands why they're here. The place smells like dust and damp cardboard, a room meant to stay unnoticed, and the presence of idols inside it lands like a mistake everyone witnessed at the wrong angle. The line reshuffles itself in these jittery micro-movements, as if people are trying to make space without making it obvious they're making space. The air thick with the sense that BTS shouldn't be here, not in this fluorescent lit nowhere, not between tax forms and abandoned strollers, not close enough that you can hear Jungkook's shoes scuff as he hesitates, realizing the crowd has already registered them and can't unsee it. The second wrong sound, sharp, too bright, is a laugh that wasn't meant to be a laugh. A teenage girl near the bulletin board lets it slip out, this quick, nervous burst, and immediately clamps a hand over her mouth as if she could shove it back in. People swivel toward her, then toward the group near the entrance, and then away again so fast it looks painful. Yoongi adjusts his mask, tiny motion, but the room reacts like he shouted. A man in a puffy jacket jerks his head up, whispers something urgent to the woman beside him, who shakes her head too many times, like she's denying the whole situation on instinct. Phones appear and vanish in stuttering patterns. Someone pretends to check an email. Someone else pretends to silence a notification that didn't ring. One woman lifts her camera, sees Namjoon's profile for half a second, panics, and drops her phone onto her own boot with a thud that makes the entire line twitch. The space is too small for this many people pretending not to look. Paperwork rustles in sharp, uneven bursts. No rhythm, as if everyone's trying to create a normal noise and failing. Taehyung steps inward to avoid brushing a stranger's coat, but the movement only draws more eyes, more half-formed whispers. Why here? What are they? Is that actually? None of the questions finish. The security guard by the metal detector straightens up like he's about to intervene, then freezes, his gaze flicking between their faces, as if hoping one of them will turn out to be a lookalike and release him from responsibility. The atmosphere doesn't settle. It skids, catching on every small motion. A mother pulls her kid closer, not out of fear, but confusion, like she doesn't know if standing near them is allowed. Someone at window 5 stops stamping forms entirely, her hand suspended mid-air. The whole registry office feels off balance, wrong-footed, like the floor tilted 2 degrees, and everyone's pretending they can still stand straight. The third mistake comes from the guy near the vending machine, the one who's been pretending for 5 straight minutes that he's choosing a drink. His coin slips from his fingers, bounces once, and rolls in a perfect slow arc toward Hoseok's shoe. He lunges to stop it, too fast, too dramatic, and the motion snaps the room in half. A cascade of reactions fires off with no coordination. A woman gasps like something hit her. The teen by the bulletin board blurts, "Don't." Without knowing what she's warning against, someone near the exit starts to step away, but collides with a stanchion pole, making its metal base scrape the floor with a mean, dragging shriek. Hoseok bends just a fraction, intending to nudge the coin back, but the movement detonates the tension. 3 people flinch. One man physically turns his back, as if that could erase the sight, and another presses his phone to his chest, screen still lit, guilty and trembling. Nobody's talking, but the room is loud with wrong sounds. Harsh breaths, shifting jackets, the clatter of someone dropping their ID, the click, click, click of a pen being pressed over and over by a clerk whose hand won't stay still. The registry office's low ceiling suddenly feels lower. Heat collects near the fluorescent lights. Jin tries to move further into the line, subtle, almost polite, but the space refuses to absorb him. People recoil in tiny increments, not out of fear, but out of disbelief, like their brains reject the geometry of idols standing this close to peeling green walls and a flickering counter-closed sign. Young cook's hoodie brushes a stack of plastic trays used for emptying pockets before screenings, and the sound, soft, cheap plastic wobbling, makes a girl cover her ears as if something unbearable just happened. The taboo of their presence is spreading. You can feel it in how everyone recalculates their position in the room every second, trying to figure out where to stand, where not to stand, how not to be caught staring at something they're already staring at. The coin finally stops spinning, flat on the floor, but the moment it created keeps vibrating through the crowd, too alive to die down. The fourth rupture doesn't come from a sound. It comes from a movement so ill-timed it feels like a collective muscle cramp. A woman in a maroon coat tries to squeeze past the line to reach the restroom door, but the moment she steps forward, she finds herself too close to Namjoon, not touching him, not even brushing him, just close. And the room reacts like she stepped into a restricted zone. She freezes mid-stride, foot half lifted, mouth half open, eyes wide with an apology she can't voice, because saying anything would make it real. He shifts back on instinct, this tiny adjustment meant to give her space, but the gesture ricochets through the registry office like a warning signal. A man near window 2 whispers, "No, no, no, don't move," as if talking to himself, and the woman's raised foot lowers too slowly, too shakily, turning an ordinary step into a visible mistake everyone witnesses. Behind her, the kid tugging his mother's sleeve chooses that moment to whine. "Mom, why is everyone weird?" And she hisses at him so sharply that two people turn their heads before realizing they shouldn't. Every reaction is slightly too late or too early. Taehyung adjusts the strap on his bag, and a cluster of fans, if they're even fans, no one can tell, lean forward a fraction, then lean back as if caught stealing something. One girl opens her camera app by accident, and the shutter sound pops out bright and unmistakable. She panics and drops her phone into her tote bag so fast it thumps, the slap of plastic on canvas loud enough to earn her 3 startled looks. She mouths, "Sorry," at no one in particular. The ceiling light above the center row flickers twice, and the group standing beneath it shifts uncomfortably, as though the broken glow exposes too much. People keep trying to pretend this is still a normal public office, but every attempt collapses. A clerk coughs into her elbow, but it's too sharp, too rehearsed, and someone interprets it as a signal. A security guard raises his walkie-talkie, then lowers it without pressing the button, his knuckles white around the plastic. A man in a leather jacket mutters, "This is wrong. They can't be," then bites his tongue mid-sentence, as if his own voice betrayed him. Meanwhile, Jimin is stuck in the worst geometry of all. Too far from the others to blend in with them, too close to step away without looking like he's escaping. He stands with his shoulders slightly tense, not from emotion. Emotion isn't the point, but because the people around him keep shifting their weight, turning tiny fractions of their bodies toward him, or away from him, in a stuttering, unfinished pattern. No one chooses a stance. No one commits. The crowd is trying to erase the moment, even as they reinforce it with every nervous flick of the eyes and every phone that glows from inside a sleeve. The registry office has become a trap of recognition, too bright in some corners, too claustrophobic in others. The smell of damp cardboard and old printer ink settles heavy, mixing with the heat of too many bodies pressed into a space designed for bored silence, not this tremoring, off-kilter alertness. Nothing about the place has changed, but everything feels contaminated by the simple fact that BTS are standing in it, not performing, not presenting, not expected. Just here. And the crowd keeps failing, repeatedly, loudly, in the smallest ways, to pretend they aren't seeing what they're seeing. The fifth break doesn't explode. It buckles. Not a sound, not a movement, but a full-body realization passing through the room in crooked waves as people accidentally sink in their inability to keep pretending. It starts with the clerk at window 3, the one who's been pretending to read a form upside down for the last 10 minutes. Her hand slips, just slips, and the laminated sheet slides off the counter, slapping the floor with a wet, humiliating smack. She bends to pick it up, too quickly, bangs her elbow on the desk edge, yelps, and instantly clamps her mouth shut. But it's too late. Everyone jumps. Someone near the exit mutters, "Stop doing that," as if urging the universe itself to hold still. But it doesn't. The tension unravels everywhere at once. A girl in line tilts her head just a little too far, trying to catch a glimpse of Jin's face under his hood, and bumps into the man in front of her. He jerks back like she burned him, drops his documents in a messy fan on the floor, and before he can gather them, a second person bends to help, then a third, and suddenly 3 strangers are on their knees, scrambling over each other's papers, muttering apologies that trip over themselves. One sheet skids across the dirty tiles and stops right at young Cook's shoe. He looks at it, then at the man crawling toward it, and steps aside. Polite, minimal. But the man freezes mid-reach, as if touching something this close to an idol would break some unspoken law. People watching the interaction shift in place, shoulders tightening, breath sharp. A whispered, "Sto proschatted," drifts from the back, too honest, too raw, and it floats over the crowd like a confession no one wanted to say aloud. Hosiak tries to take a small step backward, maybe to give the man more room, maybe just because the crowd feels like it's compressing too tightly. But his heel taps the metal leg of a folding chair left nearby. The clang echoes across the office, a brutal, ringing reminder that this place isn't built to absorb moments like this. The woman in the maroon coat, the one who tried to reach the restroom, has pressed herself flat against the wall now, holding her purse to her chest, as if afraid she might accidentally brush against someone important. Her eyes flick between Namjoon and the exit, and she looks like she's choosing the lesser of two impossible routes. Phones keep appearing, half hidden, angled wrong, shaking, as if people want proof but fear the act of recording more than the moment itself. A teenage boy raises his camera just a little too high, catches Taehyung in frame, panics, and instantly lowers it. But not before someone beside him hisses, "Bro, don't." The hiss spreads. 4 more people mimic it like an involuntary reflex. The space is collapsing into noise. Boxes shifting behind the service counter. A baby starting to fuss. An old printer warming up with an ugly grind, as if it picked the worst possible moment to remind the world it exists. Jimin shifts his weight. Just a subtle reposition. And a woman near him reacts as though he stepped toward her. Backing up so sharply, she knocks over a stack of empty plastic trays. They fall in a ripple, clattering loudly, one after another. A jarring, cheap sound that makes the whole crowd wince. And that's when the taboo stops being a vague feeling and becomes solid, undeniable. This isn't just idols in a wrong place. This is idols in a forbidden place. A building meant for mundane bureaucracy, anonymity, quiet irritation, not the presence of world-famous figures who should never stand under flickering lights next to peeling signage and mismatched chairs. People don't say it, but everyone feels it. This is socially, structurally, publicly wrong. There's no way to look at the scene without feeling complicit. No way to step aside without acknowledging the collision. No way to unsee the image of BTS pressed into a space that was never meant to contain them. And in that final, stretched out moment, with the trays still wobbling on the floor, the clerk rubbing her elbow, the crowd breathing too loudly, phones half raised and half hidden, the entire room holds a single, unbearable question suspended in the air. What were they even doing here?